Hi, my name is Barbie Enrico, and I'm here to welcome you to Pitch Tips Zoomcast, and where venture capitalist Fred Haney gives feedback to CEOs of startup companies to help them raise capital. Fred is an experienced venture capital fund manager, angel investor, entrepreneur, founder Monday Club, and author of The Fundable Startup, one of the best-selling books about startup companies getting funded. So let's find out what Fred has to say to today's CEO.
Hi, welcome to the Pitch Tips Zoomcast. I'm your host, Fred Haney, and our purpose here is to let you be a fly on the wall and watch a presentation by a budding entrepreneur trying to raise capital for his startup company. And we're going to listen to his pitch, and I'm going to give him some feedback, and hopefully we'll all learn from that process. Our guest today is Todd Williams from CampsEZ. And he has an interesting project he's going to tell us about. Todd, why don't you jump in and tell us a little about your company and a little about your background and how you got involved.
Hi, my name is Todd Williams, and the company is CampsEZ. And basically what we do is we make finding camps for parents, adults, and families as easy as possible. Think overnight camps, summer camps, sports camps, equestrian, and more. So my background is in engineering, software engineering. I actually worked at Nike for 2 years, and then got involved with this because I saw a real need from parents, and they were complaining about what was available in the area and how to sign their kids up for camps, and a frustration. And so jumped in and saw an opportunity as far as capabilities that I had, as well as connections within the industry, and building a platform that could really solve this problem and address the issue of finding what's available and then making it as easy as possible for parents today.
Great. Well, looking forward to hearing your more detailed pitch. I'm Fred Haney, and I'm doing this because I've spent 50 years dealing with startup companies in a combination of large corporations where I ran strategic planning for Xerox and TRW. Then I ran a large venture capital fund, the largest one in Southern California in the 80s, called 3i Ventures. I helped start Tech Coast Angels. I started Monday Club. I've been a co-founder of 6 companies. So all those activities have exposed me to hundreds of startup companies. I've been involved in hundreds of venture capital transactions. I like helping companies. I see a lot of companies, and I think a lot of them could do a better job of putting their pitch together and going out and raising capital. So the whole purpose here is to see if we can find some ways to help Todd improve his chances of getting his company funded. We're not trying to be the funders. I'm not going to write a check, but we'll see if we can find some ways to help him improve his chances of getting funded from someone, whether it's friends and family, angel investors, or venture capitalists. So, Todd, why don't you go ahead and jump in and give us a little more detailed version of what you're trying to do.
Perfect. I will share my screen. Is that displaying correctly? Showing up?
Yep.
Perfect. So once again, my name is Todd Williams, and I am the founder of CampsEZ. And CampsEZ, all in the name, we help find camps in the easiest way possible. So what's the problem? Basically, if you're a mom or dad today, you have to go out to individual websites, search through all the different paperwork as far as what do the schedules look like, can my child attend, fill out the paperwork each time for their medical information, do they have any special requests, managing the payments, cancellation terms, etc. It's extremely frustrating, especially after a long day of work. It takes a lot of time. It can be a fractured registration process, and it's very confusing to navigate. So looking at CampsEZ, how do we address this problem? Basically in 3 ways. We make it easy to find the camps through our search engine optimization, driven by the parents, putting in the information that they're looking for. Our registration profiles are smart-based, so you don't have to fill out the same paperwork every single time. You can do it once and then apply it to multiple different organizations and camps. And then we automatically organize the data for the parents' benefit and then also for the camps, so that it's easy for them to see who's coming, what are the logistics involved, etc. So imagine you're Jane, you have 4 kids, you've just come back from a long day at work. The last thing you want to do is really look through this phone book of camps, if you can see that, that you get in the mail today. And I can't believe they're still sending phone books out. But you're really looking for an opportunity for your kids and you don't know what's out there. So you can go to campsez.com. You can put in the information, put in your schedule, blackout dates, characteristics about what you're looking for, and find it in a quick and easy way. Then you can basically select. We like to call it selection instead of registration. All you have to do is select the camper from your family that's looking to attend. And then payment. We make all the major credit cards available, Google Pay, Apple Pay. It can be a one-click checkout. All you have to do, it's all in one place, checkout, and then move on. And then sit back and relax. So that's it. 4 easy clicks. So what does the market size look like? It's a massive market in the US. It's $29 billion annually. That's larger than movie theaters, and obviously even more so today as movie theaters have been crushed by COVID. We're really looking to focus on the West Coast market as we expand. So within Idaho, Washington, Oregon, California, and the industry is growing and continuing to grow as really parents need places to entertain their kids if they're dual working households, but then also just kids loving activities, sports, equestrian, more, getting outside and enjoying. So what is our business model? Our business model is simple. It's a transaction fee collected on each purchase. This is a huge benefit for the camps from a cash flow standpoint, and it aligns really our strategies in the same direction as their customers are our customers. And so it can be up to 5%, and it really does depend on the relationship that we have with the camps. So some camps are looking to be, we're their sole registration provider, where others, we're just an addition to their current platform. So you can think of us really like a bookings or hotels.com. We can be an additional website, or we can be the end-to-end registration solution for them. So looking at our team has a really deep experience within accounting, sales, marketing. Mark Burris was the former COO of the YMCA, and my business partner has a really great connection within the industry, understanding of what's available, what do the camps need, and how are the camps operating today, and what does a software platform that's really useful for them look like. I have the software expertise as far as JavaScript, working with our engineers to build the platform up. And then our board of advisors with Rod, Dale, Tom, Spence, all of them as far as sales and operations and funding to really build out what the team looks like and their expertise. And what are we looking to raise? So we're looking to raise $500,000 through convertible notes with a $5 million cap. And then eventually, as far as exit strategy, being bought out by a larger company like Expedia Group, as they own the hotels.com, and there's the kayaks and the different websites that are very similar as far as how they operate and what they offer to their customers as far as finding and registration or sign up for different activities and flights and hotels, etc. And so basically, in summary, what do? We allow people to find camps and activities for their kids in the easiest way possible. We streamline the registration process so that it's one-click checkout, one-click registration, and then we provide all this information to parents, to the camps in the most organized, meaningful way possible, so that there's no confusion about what's available, when is it available, as well as who's attending the different camps.
Okay, is that your pitch, Todd? You did that? Are you done?
Yes. Yep.
So leave the screen share up. Let's go back and look at a couple slides. Let's see. Go back to the very first slide, and I want to take a second and explain sort of the mentality of investors. There's an important thing for you to understand if you're trying to raise capital for your startup company, especially true of venture capitalists, but it's also true to a lesser degree to angel investors. Venture capitalists have an incredible time management problem. They're just buried with stuff to do. They're sitting on 10 boards of directors. They've got a stack of 50 business plans on their desk. Their telephone is ringing off the hook. Their email is hundreds a day. They're just really buried, and they have to manage their time very carefully. And one of the first things they learn is not to get too excited about companies they see. If you get excited about all the wonderful ideas, that was one thing that struck me when I first got into the business. I'm seeing all these fun, interesting ideas, and I could spend days and days kind of digging in and getting excited. You can't do that. If you're a professional investor, what you got to do is figure out if you're going to say no, you want to say no fast. So your game plan is, how do you get to know fast if that's going to be the answer? So, and the thought process is, well, what are the risks here? What are the things, if this company is going to fail, why is it going to fail? Can I identify those weaknesses now and then kind of work through them and either decide it's not really an issue, or it is an issue, but there's a solution to it and we can manage that? I mean, you got to get your arms around those risks. Otherwise, you probably don't want to make the investment. So having said that, I'm going to change gears a little bit here on this first slide. And this is kind of a generic comment about the presentation style of these slides. Your deck leads in the direction of not having very much content on the slide itself, but you do a great job of explaining it. And that's okay if you're standing there in front of your audience explaining it. But it's not necessarily okay if you're just sending your pitch deck through the email to somebody. Or if I heard your presentation 2 weeks ago and I just pulled it out of my desk to remind myself. Or if I'm sending it to one of my partners, say, hey, I saw this interesting deal, look at this pitch deck. And the response is, well, I don't know what it says. You know, the guy's not here to tell me everything it says. So there's a balance between having enough content. I like pitch decks that kind of stand for themselves. On the other hand, you don't want to write a 30-page business plan. I mean, you can't put it all in there. So I lean toward having a hand, 4, 5, 6 bullets on a slide, but providing the content so that if someone picked your deck up, they'd have a pretty good idea what you're doing.
Yep.
Just by thumbing through. You can't always assume that you're going to be there to explain it. So let's see, another slide I wanted to touch base on is your the market size slide. A common mistake that startups make is to talk about huge markets and say, oh, we only have to get a tiny little piece of that and we'll all be millionaires or billionaires. Investors think in a different way. I mean, there have been studies that have shown that the most profitable companies are the ones that have in excess of 25 or 30% market share. Well, you're probably not going to get 25 or 30% of $29 billion. And part of the reason for that is you're not going after that $29 billion. That's not the market you're really going after. So I think the better way to think about describing your market, it's okay to talk about the big picture. That's fine. That sort of sets the context. But you need to tell me what market you're going to own. Tell me what market you're going to have 25 or 30% of. Because if you really narrow down to products for making campsite reservations, that's the market you're at. How big is that? I mean, it may be hard to figure that out, but that may not be exactly the right way to say it, but that's more like the market that you're really targeting. So,
yeah,
okay
so
to have this.
As far as like Tim, or total addressable market, serviceable market, is there a specific category that you're saying focus on more heavily?
I would just define it. This is okay to have this slide, but I might add an arrow to it that says our served addressable market. Yep. Is. And define it carefully. Exactly what market are you serving? Because if you look at what's in that $29 billion, I mean, that's not just people making campsite reservations. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically defined as day camps or overnight camps. So it's not it's like sports camps, overnight camps, etc. But it might not be like a week-long camp that you send your kid to as far as an adventure camp.
But that 29 billion, that's not just
But it
for
could be like a
people making
rafting.
reservations. I guess I should ask it the other way around. What's included in that 29 billion?
Yeah, so basically all entities that define the program offering via camp. So like it could be a rafting company that does a camp for a week long, which is not necessarily a classical summer camp, but it's a rafting company that provides an opportunity as an activity for a week long, camp activity. But it's 95% of everything that campers is through the registration process, is through the tuition.
But products that help you make a reservation at those camps would be a very small piece of that 29 billion, I think. I guess the question is, do you have a way? I'm trying to get at your served market. I mean, the market you're really going after is helping people simplify the reservation process.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, and if you take the 18 million campers and then the $750 a weekly tuition, and then basically the average spend by camper is going to be $2,000 to $3,000 a summer, and then plus everything else as far as year round, you're looking at $5,000 to $10,000 per kid, and so then the amount of money being spent on activities and camp activities is basically $29 billion in the U.S.
Yeah, understand, but that's not the market you're going after.
Yeah, I mean, our focus is on the West Coast, so that the 1.7 billion right now in the 4 different states, and we're going after. I mean, yeah,
I'll take one more shot at it, and we should move on. But the definition of your served market would be people, revenue from people purchasing campsite reservations services.
Yes. Yep.
And that's a piece of it. It's not the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, so 95% of the 29 billion is through what you just specified. So 5% is not. 5% is camp t-shirts, 5% is other ways that camps are making money, but 95% is the registration process.
Wow, maybe I'm just missing that. So people are paying almost $30 billion a year just to register for camps?
I mean, they're paying the camps.
I think it's an important distinction there. You're going after the registration piece.
Yeah, I mean, today the parents are paying typically. I mean, it's not necessarily clear how much the camp is allocating to what they're paying for a back-end system. But the parents, from their perspective, are paying nothing. They just pay for the camp. So if the camp costs $500, they pay $500 for the camp. So there's some percentage that is available, or that the camp is then spending in the registration platform process, which is between 10 to 15% depending on.
So I think you want to make some effort to define the market for exactly your product. So a couple other quick comments, and you can take the screen share off, I think. Okay. When you describe your team, you want to make sure you're answering the question that's being asked. Mm-hmm. The question that's being asked is, why are these people the right people to be building this company at this time? So you want to say as much as you can about each person's relevant experience. It's not just this guy sold a lot of stuff, or this guy manufactured a lot of stuff, or this guy has a real extensive background in managing things. It's, and you probably can't say this guy was a successful CEO of a company that was doing campsite management software. It's never quite that that clean and nice.
Yeah.
But your job is to somehow explain why those people are the right people to be building this company. You know, what about their experience qualifies them to be building this company at this time? And that's important. You know, it's not just titles. And again, that's such an important thing that you may want to put a little more of that kind of information on the slides so that it kind of jumps out at people. The one other comment I thought I'd make is you're doing your deal as a convertible note. Have you thought about, so usually a convertible note converts to the price of the next round of finance. Would that be a Series A? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, that's the idea.
And it usually converts at a discount to the Series A price.
Yep.
What happens if you don't get your Series A within the specified time frame?
I mean, well, then there's the conversion event as far as depending on when we transfer to become a C Corp, and then it's either issued as debt or in which case you're paying back the investors or the equity of what the company's valued at as we transfer.
I have a caution about that, and there may be an interesting alternative for you to explore. I've seen a lot of companies get in trouble because they didn't specify carefully enough what happened in that case. Everybody says, oh, don't worry about it. We're going to get our Series A. We're already talking to people. People have already expressed interest. It's going to happen. But then time goes on and for whatever reason, it doesn't happen. And what you don't want to have happen in that event is that convertible note converts to a demand note. Because now you don't have any money, and now the investors can basically force you into bankruptcy and take your technology. I think you don't want, that's what you don't want to have happen.
Yep.
A better thing to have happen would be for it to convert to stock at some pre-negotiated deal. Now my question is, have you looked into what a SAFE is? SAFE.
Yep.
I think a SAFE is a good vehicle. It's a pretty good vehicle. It basically solves that problem. I mean, the difference, in my thinking, the difference between a SAFE and a convertible note is just that issue. The SAFE kind of spells out what happens if you don't get your funding. So I would give that some thought. It might be, you're probably talking to some lawyers, but to me, ask them, why isn't that a better solution? Because I've seen multiple companies crash and burn because they didn't handle that conversion problem properly. I mean, it's just a real mess. And the problem is nobody wants to really spell it out up front. Everybody's all excited. Everybody thinks things are going to be fine. But it does happen. So you just want to make sure that unlikely contingency is covered well on your document. Let's see. Those are probably the most important things that jump to my mind. Do you have some other questions for me? Maybe you have a question about some key area that's causing you problems? What's your biggest issue?
I mean, it's probably the same issue for all founders, but the biggest issue is just kind of split time between searching for funding and obviously building the business and building the traction and growth, and obviously continually looking to get investors and build that team out so that we have that marketing side and that sales side. And so, it's the juggle of all those responsibilities as a CEO and the team as far as full-time resources and, getting that funding. So it's really just a matter of pitching and networking and connecting with the right people. But if there's any sort of I mean, from our perspective, as far as where we are at in a stage as a company, so we've launched the product's live. We're basically in an onboarding stage. The product's viable. We've already done testing, already hosted camps through it, gotten the registrations, checked the security protocols, everything like that. So really, we are in that kind of critical funding stage to get that growth going and capture that market. I appreciate the note and the conversation as we went back and forth through what the addressable market is, as far as specifically through the registration portion. So thank you for that. But yeah, I mean, I guess within funding, within raising and angels and venture capitalists, I guess specifically with venture capitalists, you mentioned one kind of thing to be wary of as far as the convertible notes. Are there other pieces that you'd say, within negotiations or selection of venture capitalists, watch out for this or be aware of this as far as keeping control of your company or anything like that?
Remind me how much money you're trying to raise?
$500,000.
Yeah. Well, I like the way you said it a minute ago. You said you're sort of wrestling with this balance between chasing money and getting traction in the market. My book, The Fundable Startup, How Disruptive Companies Attract Capital, is sort of pointed in exactly that direction. I mean, the point is, you create as much value, you get as much market traction as you possibly can, and everything you do in that direction helps create value in your company. I mean, there really is no value in your company until some investor decides to put some money into it. And then, and the way you do that, or one way you do that, is by taking as much risk out of it as possible. And you've already done some of that. I mean, if you go to investors and say, well, invest now, we still have to build our product, we still have to get our first customer, we still have to hire our team. They just don't want all that risk. But if you can eliminate that product development risk, the product cost risk, the risk of will anybody buy it? Will people pay our price? Will customers like it? Will they be smiling? Will they come back for more? If you can take all those kind of risks out of it, so that the only real risk to investors is, well, can we scale this thing up? If we put a bunch of money into it, can we scale it up? Then you're in a much stronger position. So it sounds like you're doing the right thing. I would just encourage you to, if anything, to lean a little more on the traction side, and hopefully that'll help create value and make you more attractive to investors. The other thing I would say is that you're probably pretty small for the venture capital firms. If you're trying to raise $500,000, that's more likely an angel deal, I think. It's hard I mean, when you're managing $1 billion in one venture capital fund, and you got to get it invested in 4 years, and you have 6 partners. I mean, you can do the math. You can't do a lot of $500,000 deals.
Yeah.
You probably don't do any. I mean, most of them, I think, even 5 million probably seems like a small deal. There may be some exceptions to that, but about everything I would say about venture capitalists, I would also say about angel investors. I mean, the VCs, especially the top tier VCs, are real pros. They've built dozens, hundreds of companies. They really know what they're doing. They do their homework. They're very careful about it. People say, will they invest in fewer than 1% of the deals? Well, that's true, but have you noticed that they're in about 1/3 of all the IPOs? I mean, what does that tell you? I mean, they're doing a pretty good job of cherry picking the good deals. So they're pros at it. The angels probably aren't quite as professional and experienced, but you gotta assume that they're making the same judgments. They're looking for companies that have some home run potential. They're looking for markets that have been validated. They're looking for management teams that know what they're doing. So there may be a scale down from some of the VCs, but but they're looking for all the same things. But so my guess is that your time's going to be better spent going after the angel groups. And I know you're going to present Monday Club soon. I hope that helps you. Again, Monday Club's not trying to be investors, but there's people there who can help you find partners sometimes and advisors and find a pathway into some of the angel groups.
And as far as your experience working with, dual-sided marketplaces, do you have any experience or connections or thoughts on drivers or things to be wary of in a marketplace that has kind of that double customer and chicken and the egg problem?
Not sure. Say more about what you mean by the chicken and egg problem.
Well, I mean, it's not so much of a chicken and egg because obviously you need the camps to drive more traffic, but there is certainly a critical mass element to it of that, it really does depend on that relationship because there are a number of customers that have gone through us or are going through us that we're their sole registration platform, in which case, everyone that attends their camp is looking to come through us. But if you think of like the hotels.com model, a lot of our utility for the parents and the families is to have that vast, all the different opportunities that are in the area. Whereas if we only have one or two opportunities on the site, then there's not as much motivation for the parents because it would be no different than going to the individual sites of the camps because, we only have one or two available. So basically it's like, yeah.
I do understand your question, and I've kind of been up against that in other situations. So you need a lot of camps to get the customers, and you need a lot of customers to get the camps, and that's your chicken and egg problem.
Yep.
It's a good way to describe it. Startups are just always faced with crummy little chicken and egg problems. I can't do this. I can't hire the CEO I want because I don't have $5 million in the bank. And I can't get the $5 million because I don't have the CEO I really want. It's just all kinds of that kind of stuff. And you just have to kind of peck your way through those problems. The one thing I've learned about that problem, I guess, is that getting started, getting to critical mass is really important. So you kind of do what you have to do. I had one company that had a very similar problem. And in retrospect, we ended up wishing that we had practically given the product away in the beginning to both sides, just to get that critical mass and cut through that chicken and egg problem. You may not quite want to do that, but you want to make it easy to get that critical mass. So I mean, one model would be to give it away for a while, for a season or something like that, and then start pushing a premium product or doing something to increase the price.
And so diving into that from like an investor perspective, I mean, I guess once again, the kind of the competing ideas of as some investors would say, well, you can give any product away for free, so your traction doesn't mean much, and then others will say, but now you have the traction and you have the audience and you have the captivated audience. So have you seen one prevail more so than others as far as within investors thinking like, well, you have traction, but it's all given away for free and you can give anything away for free?
Well, the company that comes to mind certainly had that problem. A lot of companies have had that problem, actually. It's not an unusual problem. And investors, sophisticated investors, will spot that as an issue. So you're right to bring it up. Again, I would be looking for ways to cut through that. The most obvious is just give it away. You can kind of do what Amazon did, just collect eyeballs for a while and then worry about making people pay. So some kind of a strategy in that direction might not be a terrible idea. We should wrap up. Todd, thank you so much. It's a good presentation. Appreciate your taking the time to be here. If you're a viewer, come back and watch us again. We're doing these on a fairly regular basis. It's called the Pitch Tips Zoomcast instead of a podcast. And the idea is for you to learn maybe how to improve your own pitch deck by watching the kinds of issues that come up with people like Todd. Todd, I look forward to your Monday Club presentation.
Thank you, Fred.
All three of them coming up. And thanks very much for participating with us.
Great. Thank you so much for all the feedback and questions, and I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.